Welcome to the Tech Mobility Podcast.
I'm Ken Chester. Here's something that has me a little bit beside myself, and I'll explain in a minute. Headline from Automotive News, an automotive trade publication we quote a lot in this program, says Volkswagen dropping in-house U.S. auto loans, giving business to Wells Fargo. Volkswagen's captive finance company will refer U.S. Audi and Volkswagen buyers to Wells Fargo for loans starting in April. That's April 2025, but will keep writing leases. I have questions. Starts with this. Let me start with a factoid for you. 85% of new car loans are written at the dealer. 85%. What happens, the finance and insurance personnel at the dealership will take your credit information, and in a normal course of business, they will shop your loan. Now, what they're doing is twofold. One, depending on your credit score, they're trying to look for the best deal for the dealership because they mark this money up. And they're looking typically for the best deal for you because they want the business. I have told people time and time again, when buying new or used, if you're walking into a situation where you're going to borrow money, get pre-approved. Go to a bank or credit union you trust, that you work with. Get pre-approved so you already know how much money you can afford to borrow and what that payment's going to be. Then if the folks at the dealership say, hey, we'd like a chance to beat that number, you can say, go ahead. If they beat the number, you got a better deal, and you know you do. If they don't, you already have the deal. You're already ready to make the purchase. You're already ready to make the commitment. You already know where you stand. It has been historic in the auto industry that automakers have had what we call captive finance companies. And what that means is these are finance companies owned by the manufacturer. The good news for the consumer is usually these captive finance companies, the automaker can bend to their will. Let me give an example. Automaker maybe is deep in inventory on a certain model. They can tell their finance company, their captive, hey, we want to put together a plan and offer to make it attractive for people to buy these vehicles that we can't seem to sell right now. So you'll see them advertise on TV, and it'll give you these really awesome loan rates and cash back and all that. But in the fine print, if financed through the captive finance company, be it Chrysler, GM, Ford, Kia, Hyundai, whatever, the captive finance company would always two things. One, offer a slightly better deal. Number two, usually be more understanding relative to credit scores and down payments. Meaning, because they are a captive company to the automaker and the automaker is in business to move the iron, they're going to have their captive finance company configure in such a way that it would be easier for folks to qualify to drive that vehicle off the lot. Here's my problem. Number one, with Volkswagen now bailing on new ones, does that mean that Wells Fargo will always get preferential treatment in the F&I department? Will the F&I people even bother to shop these loans anymore? Will Wells Fargo, being an independent institution from the manufacturer, be so compelled to offer the same kind of deals that Volkswagen's captive finance company would have offered in the past? Meaning, if you're a first-time buyer or a buyer whose credit score is a little shaky or your down payment is weak, will you be able to buy the Volkswagen of your choice now where you might have been able to do it a year or 2 years ago? These are my questions. Obviously, if you're buying an Audi, chances are your credit score is pretty decent and down payment's not a problem. But if you're looking at buying a Volkswagen, whether it be a Taos or a Jetta or even a used Volkswagen product, will Wells Fargo, in this new relationship starting next April, be as competitive as Volkswagen's captive finance arm would have been? That's my problem. I think at first blush, and I don't know, but at first blush, this seems like a major step backwards for consumers. One less choice, one less opportunity to get the vehicle that you own. And a lot of times at these dealerships, they'll use the captive finance company even to finance used inventory, even if it's not, in this case, a Volkswagen. How does that figure now with Wells Fargo? If Wells Fargo is applying all their rigorous standards, banks typically are less favorable than credit unions. Credit unions would be, if you had to rate it from consumer friendliness and willing to work with you and help you through financial challenges, credit union would be number one. Captive finance company would be number two. Number three would be a credit union, number three would be a local bank. Number four would be companies like Wells Fargo or Bank of America. They're not typically local, and the decisions they make ain't nowhere close to local. You know, they're running them through AI. They're running them through their models. And either you make the numbers or you don't. And if the numbers don't add up, you don't get the loan. Or if the numbers, however the numbers fall, you may end up paying a higher interest rate. I will be very curious to see if the feds will be looking over their shoulder to see if consumers are being hurt or damaged as a result of this change. Again, first blush for me is that I don't think it's going to be well, and I'll tell you why. They were talking about a presentation that Volkswagen was making, and this particular slide in that presentation said, Wells Fargo would be responsible for processing auto loan applications, handling underwriting, making credit decisions, and servicing loans. Handling underwriting, making credit decisions, and servicing loans. Underwriting and credit decisions. I don't know how much different their rigor is compared to a captive finance company, but I guarantee you there'll be people who will not qualify in 2025 that may have qualified this year or last year. Volkswagen Financial Services will also begin to refer U.S. customers for the motorcycle brand Ducati to Wells Fargo at some point after it starts making recommendations for Audi and VW loans, according to the news release. And then here's something again from the same Automotive News article. Volkswagen has not responded to how loan subsidies from the automaker and underlying criteria for borrowers would change from the VW captive finance loans today to those that referred to Wells Fargo. I can tell you, it won't be good, because the bank's business is to mitigate risk and sell money. The automaker's business is to sell vehicles and use the captive finance company to help move the iron, which means lease deals, which means rebates, which means finance deals if you finance with the captive finance company. All the kind of things that help a consumer looking to get into a low-end vehicle who may have weak credit, weak down payment, or needs a break, needs a chance. Captive finance company would be more likely. Companies like Wells Fargo, less likely. I'm going to be very curious to see if this doesn't get the attention of the financial regulators. If not, it really should, because this is the kind of thing you need to be aware of, and I wanted to share this with you. I'm not a fan. I'm absolutely not a fan, because I've dealt with this in my purchase consulting business down through the years, and I've seen advantages and I've seen disadvantages. And typically, very rarely did we go to a bank. Large, robust, and brawny, it's the 2024 Toyota Sequoia. My reflections about time behind the wheel are next. You are listening to the Tech Mobility Show.
Are you tired of juggling multiple apps and platforms for meetings, webinars, and staying connected? Look no further than AONmeetings.com, the all-in-one browser-based platform that does it all. With AON Meetings, you can effortlessly communicate with clients, host virtual meetings and webinars, and stay in touch with family and friends, all in one place and for one price. Here's the best part. You can enjoy a 30-day free trial. It's time to simplify your life and boost your productivity. AONmeetings.com, where innovation meets connection. Get started today and revolutionize the way you communicate.
Social media is the main place to be these days, and we are no exception. I'm Ken Chester, the Tech Mobility Show. If you enjoy my program, then you will also enjoy my weekly Facebook videos. From my latest vehicle reviews to timely commentary of a variety of mobility and technology-related topics, these short features are designed to inform and delight you. Be sure to watch, like, and follow us on Facebook. You can find us by typing the Tech Mobility Show in the search bar. Be sure to subscribe to our Facebook page. Social media is the place to be these days, and we're no exception. I'm Ken Chester of the Tech Mobility Show. If you enjoy my program, then you will also enjoy my weekly Instagram videos. From the latest vehicle reviews to timely commentary on a variety of mobility and technology-related topics, these short features are designed to inform and delight you. Be sure to watch, like, and follow us on Instagram. You can find us by typing the Tech Mobility Show in the search bar. For those of you that listen to podcasts, we have just the one for you. Hi, I'm Ken Chester. Tech Mobility Topics is a podcast where I upload topic-specific videos each week. Shorter than the full show, these bite-sized programs are just the thing, particularly if you're interested in a particular topic covered on the weekly radio show. From Apple Podcast to iHeartRadio and many podcast platforms in between, we got you covered. Just enter Tech Mobility Topics in the search bar wherever you listen to podcasts.
No matter how far the journey, the need to make it home is basic, instinctual, undeniable. The 1994 Toyota 4Runner, for the way there, for the way back.
The Toyota 4Runner was their main SUV product back in the day. And if you couldn't get back in a Toyota, you couldn't get back with anybody. Those things were bulletproof. And a lot of the Japanese companies in the early days all made compact pickup trucks, compact SUVs, inexpensive. I mean, typically their little pickup trucks would go for around $7,500 brand new. And usually without a rear bumper, but that was a tariff thing. That's another conversation. But bulletproof. And it's important to note, 4Runner is still in the Toyota lineup today, over 30 years later, still winning friends and influencing people. But today, we're going to talk about the large Toyota Sequoia, a full-size body-on-frame SUV that is manufactured by Toyota mainly for the North American market. Launched in 2000 for the 2001 model year, the Sequoia was originally manufactured in a brand new purpose-built plant in Princeton, Indiana. Starting in 2021 for the 2022 model year, Sequoia production was moved to the automaker's San Antonio, Texas plant, which makes sense because the Tundra, which is built there, and the Sequoia share the same platform. As the second largest SUV ever produced under the Toyota brand, only the Japan-exclusive military-focused Mega Cruiser is larger. And until I did the research, I didn't even know they made anything bigger. I'm like, oh my goodness. The Sequoia is the first vehicle from a Japanese automaker to directly compete in the American full-size SUV segment against the likes of the Chevrolet Tahoe, GMC Yukon, and Ford Expedition. The all-new full-size Toyota SUV is based on the automaker's full-size Tundra pickup truck and shares the engine, dashboard, sheet metal, and chassis. The SUV was originally introduced at the North American International Auto Show in Detroit in early 2000. Full production started at Princeton in September of that year for 2001 model year. Now in its third generation, having been introduced in September 2022 for the 2023 model year, the Sequoia shares its platform with the Tundra pickup truck still, and the reimagined Toyota Land Cruiser, and the sophisticated Lexus LX 570, which means it's running in some pretty good company. Available in 5 trim levels, power for the Sequoia is produced by the iForce Max 3.5-liter V6 hybrid with twin turbochargers combined with a permanent magnet synchronous motor and sealed nickel metal hydride battery pack. That is a heck of a hybrid powertrain. This hybrid powertrain makes 437 horsepower and 583 foot-pounds of torque. That's no joke. Energy is communicated to the rear drive wheels via a 10-speed electrically controlled automatic transmission with intelligence, sequential shift mode, uphill-downhill shift logic, manual shift mode, and tow-haul driving modes. On-demand four-wheel drive with rear locking differential is an available option. Cargo capacity for the Sequoia is 86.9 cubic feet with the second and third row seats folded flat. Maximum payload, 1,730 pounds. Towing capacity is 9,520 pounds, which is literally 480 pounds short of 5 tons. EPA fuel economy is 21 city, 24 highway for rear-wheel drive, 19 city, 22 highway for four-wheel drive. Here's what I liked about the vehicle. This large 7-passenger SUV is smooth, powerful, responsive, and surprisingly light on its feet. And it's easy to handle regardless of speed, regardless of its heft. The driver always feels in command and control. A large infotainment display is easy to read and use. Inside the passenger cabin overall, it's roomy, comfortable, and accommodating. The Sequoia is shod with aggressive off-road tires that assures it will stay connected to whatever service you choose to travel on. And this, the one I evaluated, is a TRD Pro model, which has been engineered to literally become your off-road support vehicle. The TRD Pro trim adds a light bar in front with fog lights, yay, factory-installed dash cam, and a static cargo platform on the roof, in case you want to haul stuff for real. Additional creature comforts include heated and cooled front seating, a heated steering wheel, because you know I love that. Occupants riding in both the second and third row of seating are treated to automatic power windows, up-down, roomy captain's chairs for the second row seating, and a rear cargo door which allows for rear window access or full rear door access to facilitate entry. A trick power lift and recline system facilitates access to third row seats, which includes a fore-aft adjustment to optimize legroom. Here's what I didn't like about the vehicle. For all the capability of the Toyota Sequoia, the full-size spare tire is still mounted at the rear of the vehicle under the chassis exposed to the elements. Boo! While I realize that this is a Toyota, there may be situations where I need some help. The kind of help that require tow hooks. And tow hooks are not found on the TRD model. I found that odd. While I'm on the subject, a front bumper mounted winch and a head-up display would be nice. Toyota, if you're listening, I'm just asking, especially if I ever got serious about taking this vehicle off-road. There's just one USB port for third row passengers, and the second and third row seating does not fold what I call true flat with the cargo floor. So here's the bottom line. The 2024 Toyota Sequoia is big like Texas, built in San Antonio. The large SUV has a pedigree and the reputation to deliver years of trouble-free operation. Sport, normal, and eco drive modes add to the available tools the driver can use to optimize vehicle performance over a variety of driving experiences. And honestly, this large SUV is just the thing if you have people and stuff to move and miles to go. The manufacturer's suggested retail price for the 2025 Toyota Sequoia SUV starts from $62,175 for the SR5 4x2 and up to $83,665 for the Capstone 4x4. Destination charges add $1,945. I want to be clear, normally right here is where I would read the MSRP as tested. And I didn't get an MSRP for this vehicle. But I'm going to tell you something. Of all the vehicles that I've driven a lot, the beautiful part to combine off-road can-do with Toyota quality, it's a 1-2 punch you cannot beat. Why anybody would take something this large off-road, though? I don't know. Can it handle it? Absolutely. Would I do it? I don't know. I think it would be a great support vehicle, as I mentioned earlier in the review, if you needed a vehicle to follow you as you're off in the wild and you wanted a vehicle that had all your equipment, your tools, and things like that. This is your vehicle. This is the one you want. So whatever you're doing out there in your active lifestyle, you want to add the Sequoia to your list because it will be a very able partner. And being built in America, you can't go wrong. You absolutely cannot go wrong with this vehicle. And there's definitely more than enough power to get you pretty much anywhere you need to go in almost any situation you find yourself in. The Toyota Sequoia, now built in San Antonio, Texas. Microsoft is calling on Congress to pass laws to protect consumers from certain type of technology. This is the Tech Mobility Show. Do you listen to podcasts? Seems that most people do. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. If you missed any of our weekly episodes on the radio, our podcast is a great way to listen. You can find the Tech Mobility Podcast just about anywhere you can enjoy podcasts. Be sure to follow us. From Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and many platforms in between, we are there. Just enter the Tech Mobility Podcast in the search bar wherever you listen to podcasts. Social media. It's the place to be. We're no exception. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. Several times a week, I post to TikTok several of the topics that I cover on my weekly radio show. It's another way to keep up on mobility, technology, news, and information. I've built quite a library of short videos for your viewing pleasure, so be sure to watch, like, and subscribe. That's the Tech Mobility Show on TikTok. Check it out. Is this a case of the wolf asking for a lock on the henhouse? Tech giant Microsoft is calling on Congress to pass laws to make it illegal to use AI-generated voices and images to defraud people and require AI companies to build tech to identify fake AI images made with their products. What's really going on here? This is topic B. Wait a minute. These are the people who invested in OpenAI. These are the folks have rushed AI into a number of their products, like everybody else, like Meta, like Google, everybody, including Microsoft. And now they're asking Congress, please regulate us? Yeah, these are the same people who fight personal security and private information laws. So forgive me for a minute if I look at this with and take it with a grain of salt, because I got questions, Microsoft. I want to know why all of a sudden you are so proponent for this. Can we deal with some of the basic stuff? Like, what are you doing with my information? And why don't I adopt the right to be forgotten in the United States? If I don't want you to sell my data or anything, can we deal with that for a minute? But, why confuse it with facts? This comes from recommendations made as part of a 50-page document that Microsoft recently released, laying out its broad vision for how governments should approach AI. Large companies are not naturally altruistic. They're just not. Smaller companies in the tech space developing AI feel that Microsoft is doing an end run around them to set the bar so high that they can't compete in the space and to basically muscle them out. That would make more sense to me, because suddenly I'm just not convinced that Microsoft is that charitable that, technology that we're using, that we're infusing into all our products might be dangerous. So, government, please keep us from doing bad stuff. Yeah, do you see the circular logic going on? That's my problem. That is totally my problem right now. Microsoft, long accustomed to lobbying governments on issues that affect its business, has tried to position itself as proactive and helpful, trying to shape the conversation and eventual outcome of legislation by actively calling for regulation. Now, to be fair, Microsoft is not the first, they are not the last industry or company lobbying legislators to form laws that are favorable to them, or to shape an argument in a way that would be tasteful for them, or to limit damage or responsibility or liability of theirs. Smaller companies and venture capitalists have been skeptical of the approach. That's exactly where I'm at. accusing bigger AI companies like Microsoft, Google, and OpenAI of trying to get legislation passed that would make it harder for the upstarts to compete with them. Supporters of legislation, including California politicians who are leading the country in trying to pass a wide range of AI laws, have pointed out how governments failed to regulate social media use early on, potentially allowing problems like cyberbullying and disinformation to proliferate unchecked. Right now, Europe has guardrails for AI across all of Europe. They passed them. I don't know. I just have mixed emotions about this. It is commendable on one hand that AI realizes the dangers of AI, but I got to question their motives when I look at the company in the broader sense of everything else they're doing. If they were so concerned about consumers, then where were they at the forefront? Why didn't we hear their voices at the forefront of controlling, all this data at the beginning of the internet, or even now? How are you controlling that? Why aren't we passing laws to protect individual rights, individual freedoms relative to the internet and information and how it's being manipulated? Why does it have to get to this point at the intersection of AI and deep fakes that, wow, we need to do something. Please regulate us. Yeah, okay. And how are they going to check that? In the document, Microsoft calls for a deep fake fraud statute, making it illegal to use AI to defraud people. You know, the problem with that is that the people who will use it will ignore laws anyway. So what's the point? If you really think, if you're going all that far, bad actors are using AI and deep fakes right now. And, natural voice recognition, that's all being incorporated right now by people who have no intentions of any laws that you pass of following them. As voice and image generating AI becomes better, fraudsters have already begun using it to impersonate family members to try to get people to send them money. Microsoft also called on Congress to force AI companies to provide build provenance tools into the AI products. Okay, this I can get with. In case you're wondering what they mean by provenance, it's called a record of ownership used as a guide to authenticity or quality, its origin. If you would build into any AI tool that anybody uses, where it came from, kind of an invisible signature. That to me makes more sense than any additional laws. Because as this stuff proliferates and everybody can use it and modify it, particularly any of it that is open source, there's no guarantee that these tools will be put in there. But if the folks that are trying to do the right thing build this in, then you would know in a heartbeat if it was rogue, because it wouldn't have that authentication built into the system. That right now, I don't know how you get there to build this into these tools, but I think building that in like a watermark, which is a simplification, but still gives you the ability to at least slow down the fakes. Now, they may have to get real creative, just like they do on our money, constantly changing protocols to keep people from replicating things. So it won't be a one and done ever. You'll probably have many iterations of safety and security built in to identify invisibly. And unless the industry is prepared to commit to that, then they don't start, because this provenance, is not a one and done. It's just not. It's gonna be something that will take a while. AI companies have been working on tech to imbibe hidden signatures in AI images and videos that can be used to identify whether content is AI generated. But deepfake detection is notoriously unreliable, and some experts question whether or not it will ever be possible to reliably separate AI content from real images and audio. Used to be you couldn't trust what you saw, but you could kind of trust what you hear. Nowadays, you can't trust what you see or what you hear. that you're going to end up going to the original source. And it's going to be more of an issue in the years to come as these tools get better and better. We need a way to identify the legit stuff from the stuff that's not. And I think at the end of the day, that's really where this needs to go. There should be some laws, I think guardrails, but in the end, it needs to be built into the products themselves to give us any chance at protection. When monster trains cause monster traffic problems, we are the Tech Mobility Show. To learn more about the Tech Mobility Show, start by visiting our website. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. The website is a treasure trove of information about me and the show, as well as where to find it on the radio across the country. Keep up with the happenings at the Tech Mobility Show by visiting techmobility.show. That's techmobility.show. You can also drop us a line at talk@techmobility.show. Did you know that Tech Mobility has a YouTube channel? Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. Each week, I upload a few short videos of some of the hot topics that I cover during my weekly radio program. I've designed these videos to be informative and entertaining. It's another way to keep up on current mobility and technology news and information. Be sure to watch, like, and subscribe to my channel. That's the Tech Mobility Show on YouTube. Check it out.
Are you tired of juggling multiple apps and platforms for meetings, webinars, and staying connected? Look no further than aonmeetings.com, the all-in-one browser-based platform that does it all. With AON Meetings, you can effortlessly communicate with clients, host virtual meetings and webinars, and stay in touch with family and friends, all in one place and for one price. Here's the best part. You can enjoy a 30-day free trial. It's time to simplify your life and boost your productivity. aonmeetings.com, where innovation meets connection. Get started today and revolutionize the way you communicate.
Social media is the place to be these days, and we're no exception. I'm Ken Chester of the Tech Mobility Show. If you enjoy my program, then you will also enjoy my weekly Instagram videos. From the latest vehicle reviews to timely commentary on a variety of mobility and technology-related topics, these short features are designed to inform and delight you. Be sure to watch, like, and follow us on Instagram. You can find us by typing the Tech Mobility Show in the search bar. So what happens when a freight train that's up to 3 miles in length, quite possibly, or more, if you're at a rail crossing and one goes by, usually slowly, you know what happens. But is this a national problem? This is Topic C. I start this last segment of our visit with a confession. I love trains. I love freight trains. I would probably sit there in wonderful bewilderment looking at all the different cars as the train goes past slowly, which is great, unless I need to be somewhere. Or I'm not in the mood, or I'm tired or something. But most of the time, yeah, I'd sit and watch the train go by. I'd be fine. But not everybody shares my opinion. The railroad industry in recent years has been looking at all kinds of ways to get efficient. One of the ways that they are doing this is way longer trains. I can't even fathom a 3-mile-long freight train. Let me tell you why. Number one, did you know that how braking systems are built into freight trains? Every single one of those cars has to be connected to a hose, and across the whole train, the pressure in all the cars has to be equalized. In order to get the train to move, the pressure has to be elevated to 120 pounds per square inch in every car. When that happens, the brakes release. When that pressure drops, when the engineer applies the brakes, or there's a coupling or they're disconnected, the brakes automatically set. It's a built-in safety. But we're talking physics here. It takes a lot of power to start a 3-mile train. It takes a lot of power and a lot of distance to stop one. I mean, I'm just thinking safety just for openers. But railroading, being what it is today, railroads are going to that length because it is more cost effective for them to do it. Now, very often in a train that long, it would not be uncommon for you to see an engine or two in the middle of the train. That is called distributed power. And it's actually controlled by the engineer up front. There's nobody in that locomotive. And then it may have some in the back. And the funny thing of it is, on flat ground, if there's an engine or two at the back of this very long train, it is not to push the train. It's to help stop it. That's called dynamic braking, where the engineer would instruct the engines at the end of it to basically go in a reverse, which generates friction to reduce the speed. It is a very delicate act. And that's just get the train started and stopped. Now, if you are in a town with a lot of rail crossings and heavy rail traffic, where the trains tend to be that long, this is a major problem. And in recent years, money from the federal government, activities like Operation Lifesaver, have been successful in either making people aware of the danger of rail crossings and eliminating the number of rail crossings in busy rail corridors. But there's many, many, many of them. Let's see the number. Well, let's just give you one example. In Texas, there are 8,000 crossings. No, I'm sorry. Let me read. I read this wrong. Let me reread it. In Texas, they have the highest number of commuter reported blocked crossings, with more than 8,000 reported in the last year. Guess who's number two? Good old Illinois. The next highest was 1,600. The population in Texas has been growing along with the container volume from the Gulf Coast ports, and block crossings there become a more frequent occurrence. As we get more stuff in, and the railroad's got to move more and more, and particularly container trains. Container trains, they guarantee the Union Pacific, the Burlington Northern, Santa Fe, guarantee from the port of Los Angeles and Long Beach to Chicago in the case of the Union Pacific, they guarantee 72 hour from the time they pick it up in California to the time they deliver that car to Rochelle, Illinois, just outside of Chicago. 72 hours across their lines. Long trains, fast trains, priority trains. Out here in the Midwest, either Union Pacific or Burlington Northern, we're more likely to see 100-car coal trains, both full going east and empty going west to Powder River Basin, the heart of coal country, really, in the United States right now. Most of the coal that's used in the United States comes out of Powder River. And there are two main railroads that pull it out of there, and they're pulling out it many loads, many trains a day, every single day still. The problem in smaller towns with multiple crossings is that a single train can block 3 of the 4 ways out of a given neighborhood, or mess up if there's a fire in a town that's divided by a railroad where the crossing is what we call an at-grade crossing, meaning that you have to directly interact with the railroad. You don't go over it, you don't go under it, you got to go through it. In some cases, and I think it's Fort Worth, if there's a fire and there is a major rail line involved, they may send equipment from 2 different directions to see who gets there first. Whoever gets there, they call off the other one. A lot of these small towns don't have that capability, and that is an extra cost, extra burden, extra risk to the population. Because if you're sending 2 units to the same event where you only needed one, means you're taking one completely out of service that might be needed elsewhere. It's not available because you're trying to deal with this one. That's not okay. Long trains are typically slower, so drivers wait longer for them to pass. When these trains stop moving, things get worse. Like if they're at the end of a railroad yard and they're putting together a train and you're at an at-grade crossing. Yeah, it could get ugly. We have one literally within 1.5 miles of this studio at the end of a yard, at the end of a rail yard. And I have sat there. There are 2 different paths. One is at grade. The other one goes underneath it. The main road goes underneath it. But the at grade crossing is also a way if you're going north or east of here. And yeah, it's not uncommon to be stuck there waiting for a train to pass. In fact, on the main road, where there's a turn to go southeast into the city, they actually have a light at that intersection that lights up if there's a train blocking that intersection, which is 3/4 of a mile away. So they try to warn you so you can plan differently before you get there and get stuck. But not everybody has that opportunity. It's a problem, and it's a nationwide problem. In addition to Texas, Illinois, Virginia, Ohio, Tennessee, Michigan, Kansas, and Iowa, California and Indiana round out the top ones that have this problem. And like I said, in Iowa here, within literally eye view of the studio, we have such a grade crossing at the end of a yard. It's got to be a better way, but they can't replace them all. Railroads are going to have to do better, and the feds are going to have to look at ways that we can work around this, because it's not safe for everybody, and in some cases, it's downright dangerous. And those long trains are not easy to stop, by the way, even at slow speeds. A 3-mile train, even at 5 miles an hour, could take a mile or more to stop. We have come to the end of our visit. Be sure to join me again right here next time. This has been the Tech Mobility Show.
The Tech Mobility Show is a copywritten production of Tech Mobility Productions, Incorporated. Any rebroadcast, retransmission, or any other use is prohibited without the written consent of Tech Mobility Productions, Incorporated.
For those of you that listen to podcasts, we have just the one for you. Hi, I'm Ken Chester. Tech Mobility Topics is a podcast where I upload topic-specific videos each week. Shorter than the full show, these bite-sized programs are just the thing, particularly if you're interested in a particular topic covered on the weekly radio show. From Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, and many podcast platforms in between, we got you covered. Just enter Tech Mobility Topics in the search bar wherever you listen to podcasts. Social media. It's the place to be, and we're no exception. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. Several times a week, I post to TikTok several of the topics that I cover on my weekly radio show. It's another way to keep up on mobility, technology, news, and information. I've built quite a library of short videos for your viewing pleasure, so be sure to watch, like, and subscribe. That's the Tech Mobility Show on TikTok. Check it out. To learn more about the Tech Mobility Show, start by visiting our website. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. The website is a treasure trove of information about me and the show, as well as where to find it on the radio across the country. Keep up with the happenings at the Tech Mobility Show by visiting techmobility.show. That's techmobility.show. You can also drop us a line at talk@techmobility.show. Do you listen to podcasts? Seems that most people do. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. If you missed any of our weekly episodes on the radio, our podcast is a great way to listen. You can find the Tech Mobility Podcast just about anywhere you can enjoy podcasts. Be sure to follow us. From Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, and many platforms in between, we are there. Just enter the Tech Mobility Podcast in the search bar wherever you listen to podcasts.